Thank you for joining us. I'm Shondell Newsom, co-chair of Small Business for America's Future and owner of Some New Marketing in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I'll be your moderator today. First, a little housekeeping, just an FYI, that this event is being recorded. Today, we will hear from Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts, the ranking member of the Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, the ranking member of Senate Finance Committee, and small business owners from around the country who are being impacted by unpredictable tariff policies. This will be followed by a Q&A with the senators and the business owners. If members of the press on the call have questions or would like to arrange an interview with a business owner, please send your questions to communications@smallbusinessforamericasfuture.org, and we will connect with you following the event. A very special thank you to our sponsors who are supporting this event. We do appreciate everything that you do for us. We're here today because small business owners are facing immense economic pressure to unpredictable and erratic trade policies. President Trump's 90-day pause on the Liberation Day tariff expires today, which will likely lead to U.S. reimposing reciprocal tariffs on numerous countries later this summer. Our latest Small Business Economic Pulse survey of small business owners found that 80% of small businesses affected by tariffs view them as an existential or major threats, and 48% say they cannot grow or expand the current unpredictable economic environment. Today, we are joined by 4 small business owners to talk about the real-world impact of erratic tariff policies on Main Street. They are LeGrand Lindor of LMI Textiles in Milton, Massachusetts, Gladys Harrison of Big Mama's Kitchen and Catering in Omaha, Nebraska, Corinne Harris of Blitz Proto in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and Gabe Hagan of Brick Road Community Corporation in Tempe, Arizona. So now, first, let me introduce the ranking member of the Senate Committee on Small Business, Senator Ed Markey. Welcome, Senator.
No, great to be with you, Shondell, again. Thank you for all of your incredible leadership on all of these issues. Thanks to everyone who is joining us. Thank you to my great friend and great leader, Ron Wyden, for joining us. You guys are doing a great job organizing this event on the ongoing harm of President Trump's chaotic, reckless tariffs on small businesses across the country. And thank you to small business owners who are sharing their stories today all across our country, including LeGrand Lindor, owner of LMI Textiles right in Boston. So I'd also really want to single out, again, the great leadership of Ron Wyden in putting a focus on the impact on mom and pop small businesses through these thoughtless tariffs, having a cloud hang over these small businesses all over our country. And this event comes on the heels of President Trump's most recent tariff announcements to delay the country-specific reciprocal tariffs until August 1st. Instead of providing small businesses with certainty, the president caused more chaos by sending letters to trading partners, setting arbitrary tariff levels that could be as high as 70%. The administration just keeps shifting the goalpost while small businesses suffer. We were supposed to have 90 deals in 90 days. Instead, we have only empty promises and a cloud of uncertainty hanging over the heads of small businesses in all 50 states. And one of the biggest issues right now for small businesses, whether they're manufacturers, clothing shops, restaurants, hardware stores, is the instability caused by Trump's roller coaster tariff policy. Small businesses operate on razor-thin margins, week to week or even day to day. They do not have the ability to absorb the cost placed on them by the crushing and overly broad Trump tariffs. 97% of our country's exporters and importers are small businesses, accounting for a third of all trade by our country. And the current tariffs have already forced these small businesses to pass on costs to consumers, lay off workers, pause hiring, and in some cases, close their doors. So today, we're going to hear from small business owners about how President Trump's chaotic tariff policies are impacting their businesses. I think it's going to be a very important conversation. Hundreds of small business CEOs are on this call, and they're not alone. Small businesses are America's future. A May 7th survey found that 80% of businesses affected by the new tariffs view them as an existential or major threat. And for nearly half of them, the tariffs are preventing them from being able to grow or expand in the current economic environment. There's just a cloud of uncertainty that is hanging over their heads, and this is unacceptable. And after adapting to and surviving a global pandemic, these small businesses should not have to face an existential threat that is entirely the result of the Trump administration. And that is why I introduced the Small Business Liberation Act. And this bill would provide small businesses with the certainty they need by freeing them from President Trump's overly broad and reckless tariffs. It is clear that small businesses are an afterthought to this administration. So just last week, the administration promised that their one big, beautiful bill would bring relief for small businesses. But in reality, this bill used them as a Trojan horse to pass massive tax breaks for the wealthy while providing pennies for small businesses. So let me be clear, there is no relief in the big ugly bill for small businesses. It increases health costs while jeopardizing coverage for millions of small business owners, their employees, and their families. It raises energy costs and decimates clean energy small businesses. And it raises food costs for small business owners and their families. So we just have to stand up for our small businesses and fight to ensure that they can survive, that they can thrive in a new economic environment. So Congress must pass my Small Business Liberation Act immediately to alleviate the tariff burden placed on small businesses by this administration. It is the kind of relief, the kind of certainty which people need. So thank you to all the small business owners for being here and sharing your stories. And I'm now going to pass it back to Shondell to introduce our next incredible leader.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey. We are so grateful to you for your empathizing with us as small business owners. We certainly appreciate the Liberation Act, and we hope that Congress will pass it. Now, I would like to introduce Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee and leading Senate Democrat of the U.S. Joint Committee on Taxation. Welcome, Senator.
Shondell, thanks for your terrific work, and particularly having my longtime ally, Senator Markey, here for this program. The Senate Small Business Committee probably is not known to everybody who's off at a coffee shop somewhere, but it ought to be, because small business is where Americans' economy is at. And Senator Markey has taken the helm for Senate Democrats and is doing an outstanding job leading in every way in terms of hearings and legislation and the like. And I'm going to be very brief, and we want to go to questions. The first thing is to recognize the roots of Donald Trump's position on this. Donald Trump has always denied that tariffs are taxes. The fact of the matter is a tariff is a tax. It is a tax that the American people pay on goods and services. And yet, through presidential campaigns, he's denied that Americans are paying taxes. He always says foreigners are paying taxes and the like, and it's just not true. And so small businesses who operate under thinner margins than the big guys are always faced with the reality of their consumers paying these taxes, and the small businesses cannot afford to pay what I call the new Trump tariff tax. And now, as Senator Markey has noted, we're here on July 9th. That's the day when Trump's higher country-specific tariff rates was supposed to crack down on many of our trading partners. And instead, what Donald Trump has done is keep the tariff purgatory in place for another month until August 1st or whenever his next tariff temper tantrum takes place. Now, he's told reporters that the August deadline is firm. Then he said it wasn't. It seems to me that this administration is ignoring the number one thing that small businesses say to Senator Markey, myself, and everybody else, is they just cannot make this uncertainty, this inability to protect what they need to do to plan, have it up in the air on a permanent basis. And Donald Trump is essentially putting the economy on a month-to-month lease, and the small businesses then are caught in the crossfire. And then their higher prices and jacked up costs, lower wages, and less certainty. At my state, 80% of our businesses are ones where small business sees tariffs as an existential major threat. I was with the wheat farmers in Eastern Oregon. Eastern Oregon wheat is particularly important. These farmers say, look, the reality is our prices have gone down as a result of the Trump economics. Our input costs have gone up, but more than anything, Senator Wyden, go back there and just tell people we need some predictability and certainty. The Trump people have changed their policy more than 50 times in the last few months, and we've tried to respond in the Senate by overturning the Trump global tariffs. I offered legislation with the support of Senator Markey. We failed by one vote, but I want all the people who are listening to know that Senator Markey and I are going to stay at it. He's got a very good piece of legislation. He's using the Small Business Committee to lead on this issue. And I just wanted you all to know that I think his effort to exempt small businesses from the new Trump tariff tax is sensible. I hope we get some bipartisan support, and I'm going to do everything I can to help build that. And why don't we throw it open to questions? And softball questions can be directed at me, difficult ones to Senator Markey, but we've been allies on this for a long time, and we want to hear from all of you.
We do thank you, Senator Wyden, for your comments as well as your clarification of what these tariffs really are. We certainly thank you for that. Now let's move to some questions from our senators and hear directly from some of our small business owners. Senator Markey, the administration's 90-day tariff pause expires today, and we may see new tariff rates as high as 70% taking effect on August 1st. The rates have already changed several times, and many small business owners say this kind of policy whiplash makes it nearly impossible to plan, hire, or grow. Me personally, I've had an internship program for 20 years with my business, and that is in threat with this whiplash. What policy changes or guardrails do you believe are needed to bring more predictability and consistency to U.S. trade policy? And how would the Small Business Liberation Act you introduced earlier this year address these challenges, particularly in providing stability and support to small business stakeholders?
Well, thank you for that great question, because I think that's on the top of everyone's mind right now. This is absolutely an historic challenge which small businesses are facing. So on April 2nd, President Trump announced the most sweeping tariff hike the United States has seen since the enactment of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. And it has been nearly a century since the United States imposed such extensive tariffs. And there's a good reason. Smoot-Hawley led to an economic disaster and is largely credited with worsening the Great Depression, affecting millions of American families. And any imposed tariff should be thoughtful, it should be targeted. Trump's tariffs are broad, they're reckless, they're without rhyme or reason, causing consistent whiplash to small businesses. So small businesses can't plan in times of instability. That's for absolutely sure. They're too small. They plan month to month. The Small Business Liberation Act would provide the certainty small businesses need right now. It would shield them from both the current global baseline tariffs as well as the upcoming August 1st tariffs. So Congress must pass this legislation immediately to avoid massive cost hikes on small businesses.
Thank you, Senator Markey. That's a great point, and we do want to have the ability to plan and grow. Senator Wyden, with the recent passage of the reconciliation bill adding new economic uncertainty, small businesses are increasingly concerned about staying competitive both globally and at home. Tariffs continue to shift unpredictability, putting Main Street entrepreneurs at a serious disadvantage compared to larger companies that can better absorb these disruptions and regulatory changes. How is your office planning to support small businesses in navigating these compounding trade and policy challenges?
Well, the first thing we're going to do, as Senator Markey touched on, is stay away from flawed policies like Smoot-Hawley. By the way, we Oregonians are so proud of many things. We're not particularly proud of Hawley's trade policies because they contributed mightily to some of the economic problems we had in those difficult days. Let me pick up on what Senator Markey talked about in terms of where we are. The Republicans have blocked us repeatedly. And by my count, we are only a couple of Republicans short of fundamental reform. In other words, the legislation that I offered with Senator Paul, he was one of the Republicans who supported us, and Senator Schumer and I and Senator Markey and a big group, were behind it. We only lost by 1 vote. Now, political change hardly ever starts in Washington, D.C. and then trickles down. It's almost always just the opposite. It's grassroots up. And what I would just say to the wonderful folks that helped to organize this and wonder what's next is we need to recognize Congress has the power to stop these flawed Trump tariffs. To make that happen, we've got to have Republicans in the United States Senate who say that they're going to put their loyalties to their small businesses before they put their loyalties to Donald Trump. And we are going to continue to pull out all the stops for tariff reform and the good work Senator Markey is doing to get some relief for small businesses. And we're going to stay at it. But we came awfully close already on the floor of the United States Senate. It was a bittersweet evening. We basically got 3 Republicans. We can get you all the names of people who have been following this closely in the Senate. But I think this is a fight we can win. But it basically means we have to go from the value of this program, which is very substantial, and I commend our organizers and Senator Markey in particular, and go on out and say, we're going to stay at it until we find a couple more votes. If we get a couple, we'll have 1 in reserve based on the vote that we had. But let's see if we can get 3 to 5 to say, we care about our small businesses more than we care about, Donald Trump. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. These small businesses really feel that the federal government isn't being straight with them. That's why I mentioned this question of the Trump people denying that a tariff is a tax. As the ranking Democrat in the Finance Committee, I had the Secretary of Treasury come on in, and he basically waltzed around when we said, is this a tax? Of course it is. And that's why we're dealing with people who are angry, and big stores are putting up signs saying, we're paying this tax. And we can win this if we go to the grassroots. And I'm going to work with Senator Markey and all of you to stay at it till we win.
Thank you so much, Senators Markey and Wyden. I know you guys are busy, so we do appreciate you joining us. Now that we've heard from Senators Markey and Wyden on how tariff decisions are playing out in the policy world, I'd like to ask the business owners to join in the conversation to tell us how they are playing out on the ground. Can you share how the trade wars are impacting your business and ability to plan? What are the biggest challenges you are facing? LeGrand, let's start with you.
Thanks, Shondell. My business, small business, LMI Textiles, located in Milton, Massachusetts. We distribute harm reduction products from a European manufacturer. Earlier this year, we had the had to pay an extra $5,000 in a backdated tariff on a small shipment in February of aluminum-based products that obviously we weren't expecting. The volatility has increased that our French supplier now requires us to handle customs duties and taxes, which previously they managed, and this creates a huge administrative burden for us, our small team. We're also seeing incremental price increases on medical products from China, which cuts into our margins since we operate as a high volume, low margin business to compete with large suppliers. In another segment of our business, foreign factories actually are allowed to operate under Section 321, the de minimis, until July 2027. And the open secret is that they undervalue the products that we sell here, they sell as well, with no enforcement as customs is overwhelmed, which creates a large advantage for the foreign competitors to the U.S. market. And large chance this part of our business, this segment will not continue to operate as well. And like many small, I was going to say, like many small businesses, we're all trying to figure out how to absorb it all with these unexpected costs without passing them on to our communities that we serve.
Yes, thank you so much. Gladys, what do you think about, what do you think of that question?
Thanks, Shandell, and thank you, Senator Markey and Senator Wyden, for being here today and listening to what we have to say. I'm a small business owner in Omaha, Nebraska. I have a little bitty restaurant that my mother started. This is a second generation restaurant, and we sell our seasonings. And we have this big, beautiful marketing plan to expand our seasonings all across the country and to create some new jobs for people in our community, particularly those that are hard to hire. And we had to put a halt on that because we're unsure. Like you said, Senator Markey, that goalpost keeps getting moved. Well, we're unsure of what the seasoning costs are going to be, and I don't want to hire a bunch of people and make a bunch of commitments to these grocery stores to sell them this product, and then the price goes up sky high. So I certainly am living proof of how these bad tariff policies are truly affecting the small businesses, which you also said, Senator Wyden, we're the heart of American business, this small business, and it's truly having an effect on my small business.
Great. Thank you so much, Gladys. And we are looking forward to those seasonings. We're gonna overcome this too, right? Corinne, what do you say about how is it impacting your business, and what challenges are you facing?
Thank you, Shandell. We're experiencing something similar too. My company, Blitz Proto in Farmington Hills, Michigan, specializes in prototyping solutions. So we help our customers with product development from automotive to biotech electronics. Earlier this year, we had a critical project in the medical device company, with a medical device company that was delayed by 2 months because our supplier kept pushing back the delivery timeline due to tariff uncertainties. The supplier eventually requested additional payment to cover unexpected shipping fees and tariff-related expenses. It was a big challenge to accommodate this in our budget, and it created a significant strain on our client relationship. We're exploring alternative suppliers in places like Taiwan, but customers have already ended partnerships with us due to the ongoing uncertainty around supply chains and costs.
Thank you, Corinne. Gabe, let's close us out with this question.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to make some tough decisions too. I mean, I'm Gabe Hagan. I own Brick Road Community Corp in Tempe, Arizona. It's a series of coffee shops and coffee-related ventures. We're really the heartbeat of that community. And coffee, as most people know, relies almost entirely on imports from countries like Brazil, Colombia, Ethiopia. So importing isn't optional for us. At the end of last year, I had to make the decision with all this uncertainty to spend $26,000 to pre-purchase my coffee cups and stockpile them before tariffs hit. But I'm still seeing a 12 to 15% increase in paper goods and supplies. And now I'm navigating that with less cash, with less capital. And it's just a much more difficult challenge on our margins. We were also expanding when all of this started, so we had to take a massive cut to our expansion budget, which meant we downsized the amount of people that we were going to hire, the equipment that we were going to invest in. It's really just making it almost impossible to plan for any type of growth with our already like really narrow margins. So.
Thank you so much, Gabe. You know, and it's funny, we're all serving our community in many different ways. I appreciate all you business owners. So here's a question. How would more stable trade policies help you better serve your communities and employees? Gladys, what do you say to that?
Well, unfortunately, like I said before, we're going to have to put a hold on any hiring that we wanted to do. And even, and I hate to say it, some raises, because I'm not sure what's going to happen to these seasoning costs. And we don't just sell the seasonings, to the public. We use it for the food that we make here at the restaurant. And the going back and forth, and yes, we're going to do it, no, we don't, it just really puts us at a standstill in creating the jobs that we want to create, giving people thriving wages, and determining whether I can give my employees, a cost of living wage. And it's really frustrating. It's not just the tariffs, but it's everything coming in all at once, that, has really been debilitating, for me, and what I want to do with my business, how I want to move forward, and the kind of benefits I want to give my employees.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Gladys. And Gabe, follow up on that. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I started my small business to invest in my community. I employ 20 some folks in my community. They are my neighbors, they're my friends. Instead of being able to focus on creating a community gathering space and creating good paying jobs, I'm now navigating how to plan for a tariff that on my coffee, and how do I account for that in everything. So I'm becoming a little mini CFO for a much larger company. I just haven't had to plan for. So the stability really would allow us small business owners to refocus again on our employees and our community, and the impact that we're able to make in making our places just truly terrific places to live.
No, and that's what I love about us as small business owners. We do care about the community over profits, and we are very much in tune with what's going on, Gabe. I appreciate your comments. LeGrand, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. And, as we distribute harm reduction products to the health departments and needle exchange programs nationwide, including the Boston Public Health Commission and the Multnomah County in Portland, Oregon, we supply them with needles, obviously, which is critical work for reducing harm and protecting the public health, and in turn, saving on the public funding as well. If the trade policies were stable, we could focus on our public health mission rather than managing tariff whiplash and administrative burdens that our suppliers have shifted to us. Predictable costs would allow us to provide better pricing for essential health products, which means more resources can go towards actually helping communities rather than covering unexpected trade costs in a highly price-sensitive industry due to the funding instability for these programs in general.
Corinne, I love that. Thank you, LeGrand, so much. And we'll talk. I'm really passionate about what everybody is saying and how you guys are so connected to your community. Thank you for that. Corinne, you want to close us out on this question?
Yes, thank you. These additional tariffs have changed the way we have to run our business. Stable trade policies would help us provide accurate quotes to our customers in a reasonable timeline. It would greatly reduce the stress on our team and improve our efficiency by allowing us to concentrate on products and services rather than unpredictable pricing.
Well, I think that's important. And the one thing that the senators have heard and other small business owners is we just want to do the best that we can for our community. And we want to focus on things that are extremely important to make us efficient and effective in growing our community. So, Senator Markey, many business owners want to stay informed about trade and tariff policies, but often don't know where to start. What advice do you have for small businesses about how they can stay engaged on these issues and effectively use their voice to share concerns about tariff policies?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Again, I loved hearing our great small business leaders. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing to make our economy great. So we just have to make sure that Congress works for the American people and that you are feeling empowered to reach out to your legislators and to tell your story. There is power in numbers, and the more people in Congress hear from you, the more likely it is that we will see change. So, coalition building is important, and that is why I just want to thank Small Business for America's Future for organizing and not agonizing. That's what this event's all about. So just by being here today, you are already effectively using your voice. So thank you again to all the small businesses who joined both as panelists and in the audience. Your voices matter, and I'm going to fight to make sure that you get the certainty and the relief which you deserve. So again, Senator Wyden, thank you so much for your great leadership. And now I want to turn it back to Shondell to close out this great event.
Yeah, and I thank you, God. Thank you, Senator Markey and Senator Wyden, for your leadership. And thank you to LeGrand, Gladys, Corinne, and Gabe for sharing how tariff uncertainty is directly impacting their businesses and communities. Now let's turn the conversation into action. Everybody take that step into action. Small businesses have incredible power when they speak up collectively. First, organizations on this call can educate their members about policies like the Small Business Liberation Act that Senator Markey mentioned that will provide the stability small businesses desperately need. Second, we're mobilizing around tariff relief. Following today's briefing, we'll send all participants a letter from Small Business for America's Future for businesses to sign on to call for relief from unpredictable tariff policies. Your voice matters. When you share your stories, you're helping policymakers understand that the decision that make affects your ability to serve customers, employ neighbors, and strengthen our communities and neighborhoods around us. To stay engaged, follow us on LinkedIn and visit smallbusinessforamericasfuture.org for updates and easy ways to contact your representatives. Thank you once again to our partners, our supporters who help us make this possible. Just a reminder to media on the call, if you have questions or would like to arrange an interview with a business owner, please send your questions to communications@smallbusinessforamericasfuture.org. Have a great day, everyone. We are so grateful for everyone that participated, especially our senators. They're extremely busy, and our small business owners who are equally as busy in their respective communities. Thank you again from Small Business for America's Future.